that's
Hello,
a
how
lot.
are you?
So,
And my name is Hafiz Hassan Businesswala. Today I want to talk about food and today thank you
I
is a very important word in our daily life. We use it to show respect and love. And my first question is how does food influence human health and longevity?
gotcha. Hi, Hafiz. I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. And wa alaikum salam to you too. Water, huh? Good topic. Essential for all life. It's a big one. Basically, everything is made of it, right? Like cells, bodies, the planet. It's all water based. It's kind of how everything functions. Carries nutrients, regulates temperature, gets rid of waste. Without it, nothing. Pretty fundamental. Does that make sense?
Okay, my next question is: do you think modern dates are healthier than traditional? That's why.
Whoa, that's a really heavy question, right? Modern versus traditional deaths. Hmm. Okay, so I think healthier is kind of the wrong word. Modern medicine definitely lets us prolong life and often manage pain better in the end. Whether that's better, that's more philosophical, isn't it? Traditionally, death was often quicker, more accepted as a natural part of life. Now it can be drawn out, medicalized, and surrounded by a lot of anxiety. So not necessarily healthier, just different. And both have their pros and cons, I guess. It's a tough one to really answer directly. What do you think?
Okay, my next question is: how does food production impact the environment?
Okay, good question. Food production has a huge impact on the environment, unfortunately. It's a really complex issue, but things like deforestation to create farmland, the use of pesticides and fertilizers, the amount of water it takes to grow crops, and the greenhouse gas emissions from livestock, it all adds up. Plus, food waste is a massive problem. A lot of the food we grow never even gets eaten, and that wasted food contributes to emissions as it decomposes. It's kind of a double whammy, right? Producing the food and then just throwing it away. It puts a strain on the planet.
Okay, my next question is: how does food production impact? What role does food play in cultural identity?
Okay, so you're shifting gears a bit, talking about food and culture. That's smart. Food plays a massive role in cultural identity. It's tied to traditions, celebrations, family history, even a sense of belonging. Think about it. Certain dishes are often associated with specific cultures, and sharing food is a way to connect with others and preserve those traditions. It's more than just sustenance, it's a way of expressing who you are and where you come from. What kind of food is important in your family's culture?
Okay, my next question is: how can poor nutrition affect mental health?
Good question. Really good question. Poor nutrition can seriously mess with your mental health. Your brain needs specific nutrients to function properly, and if you're not getting enough of them, things like omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, magnesium, it can lead to mood swings, anxiety, depression, and even cognitive decline. It's not just about feeling sluggish either. There's a real connection between what you eat and how you feel mentally. It's like you are what you eat in a very literal sense. Does that make sense?
Okay, my next question is: how does processed food change eating habits?
Uh, Processed food. Yeah, it's kind of a sneaky one. It really messes with our eating habits. Those foods are designed to be hyper palatable, meaning they're engineered to be super satisfying, even addictive. They often have a lot of sugar, salt, and fat, which triggers reward centers in your brain, making you want to eat more and more. And they're often low in nutrients. So you end up feeling full, but not actually nourished. It can disrupt your natural hunger cues and make it harder to make healthy choices. It's like they're hijacking your brain, kind of. It's tough to resist, honestly.
Okay, my next question is how does processed food change editing habits, eating habits?
Yeah, twice actually. We just covered how processed food changes eating habits and makes them less healthy, more driven by cravings, and less in tune with your body's natural hunger. So they're to be addictive. You good to move on to a new question, or did something get cut off?
Okay, my next question is do you think food should be considered medicine?
That's a really interesting question. Do I think food should be considered medicine? Hmm. In a way, it already is. The saying "let food be your medicine" has some serious truth to it. A lot of chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, even certain cancers are linked to diet. So, eating a healthy diet can be incredibly preventative and even therapeutic. But I don't think we should necessarily replace traditional medicine with food entirely. They're different things with different roles. It's more about recognizing the power of food as a fundamental part of health and well being. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, my next question is do you think food should be considered uh,
Whoa. Okay. Go ahead. Take your time.
okay, my next question is what responsibility do governments have in food safety?
Oh, good question. Governments have a huge responsibility when it comes to food safety. They need to establish and enforce regulations to ensure that the food supply is safe and wholesome. That means things like inspecting food processing facilities, setting standards for food handling and storage, and monitoring for contaminants like bacteria and pesticides. They also need to have systems in place to quickly respond to foodborne illness outbreaks. It's a pretty big job, honestly, because food safety impacts everyone's health. It's about protecting citizens and ensuring they have access to safe, nutritious food. Does that make sense? Is there
Oh,
anything about that you'd like me to explain further or a specific aspect of government responsibility you're curious about?
okay, my next question is how does waste food global hunger?
Okay, this is a big one. Food waste and global hunger are tragically connected. It seems ridiculous, right? We waste roughly one third of all food produced globally, while millions of people are starving. The food that's wasted could absolutely be used to feed those in need. But it's not just about the food itself. Food waste also contributes to environmental problems like greenhouse gas emissions, which disproportionately impact vulnerable populations. It's a complex issue with a lot of contributing factors: supply chains, lack of storage infrastructure, consumer behavior. It's a massive ethical and logistical challenge.
Okay, good answer, very good answer. My next question is how can individuals make uh, healthier food choice?
You said held. Do you mean help reduce their food waste? If so, totally. There are lots of things individuals can do to reduce their food waste. Things like planning meals, making shopping lists, storing food properly, using leftovers creatively, and composting. Even small changes can make a big difference. So, um, buying ugly produce that might otherwise be thrown away is another good option. And being mindful of portion sizes can help avoid overeating and wasting food. It's about being more conscious of your food consumption and treating it with respect. Does that help?
Okay, my next question is do you think fast food culture is damaging public health?
Oh, yeah, I do, honestly. Fast food culture is definitely damaging public health. It's not necessarily the food itself, although it's often highly processed and unhealthy. It's the whole culture surrounding it: the convenience, the low cost, the aggressive marketing. It all encourages people to eat more, eat less nutritiously, and develop unhealthy habits. It contributes to things like obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. It also normalizes overconsumption and creates a disconnect from where our food comes from. It's a really systemic problem, and it's having a serious impact.
Okay, My next question is, how does food marketing influence consumer behavior?
Okay, you mean consumer behavior, right? Food marketing has a huge influence on what we buy and eat. It's designed to be persuasive, often targeting our emotions and desires rather than our rational needs. Things like bright colors, catchy jingles, celebrity endorsements, and appealing packaging all play a role. And a lot of food marketing is directed at children who are particularly vulnerable to its influence. They may not fully understand that they're being advertised to. They can create unhealthy cravings, promote unrealistic expectations, and ultimately contribute to poor dietary choices. It's a really powerful force, and it's often working behind the scenes to shape our habits.
Okay, my next question is, do you think organic food is worth the cost? Why?
That's a really common question and a good one. Whether organic food is worth the cost is kind of personal. It's generally more expensive because organic farming practices are more labor intensive and often yield lower crops. But those practices also mean fewer pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizers, which is better for the environment and potentially for your health. There's still debate about the nutritional differences, but it definitely reduces your exposure to potentially harmful chemicals. If you can afford it and those factors are important to you, it can be worth the extra cost. But it's not accessible to everyone, and conventional produce is still a good option if organic isn't feasible. It's about weighing the benefits against your budget and priorities. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, good answer. My next question is, what lesson can we learn food traditional dates?
Hmm. I mean, traditional diets, right? What lessons can we learn from them? A lot, actually. Traditional diets were often based on locally sourced, whole foods, and a lot less processing. They tended to be more diverse and balanced, reflecting the natural resources available in a particular region. They were also often tied to cultural practices and rituals, which encouraged mindful eating and a connection to food. We can learn from that focus on simplicity, seasonality, and sustainability. It's a reminder that our modern, heavily processed food system is relatively new and that there's a lot of wisdom to be found in the way our ancestors ate. It's about getting back to basics in a way.
Okay, my next question is, uh, how does food shape human behavior?
Wow. Okay, that's a really complex question. How does food shape women's behavior? There's a lot there to unpack. Historically, and sadly still today, there's been a lot of societal pressure on women regarding their bodies and food, pressures about weight, appearance, and eating properly. This can lead to disordered eating, anxiety around food, and a lot of emotional distress. Food can also be tied to gender roles, with women often being responsible for meal planning and preparation. Then there's the whole intersection of food and cultural expectations around femininity. Honestly, it's a complicated relationship shaped by a lot of social and cultural factors. It is not just about nutrition, it's also intertwined with social norms and expectations. It's a really sensitive topic. Does that response feel okay?
Okay, very
Should we
good answer.
maybe shift?
Okay, very complective and very good and excellent answer. Okay, my next question is, how can technology reduce hunger worldwide?
Okay, that's a really hopeful question. Technology has a lot of potential to reduce hunger worldwide. Things like precision agriculture using data and technology to optimize crop yields can help farmers grow more food with fewer resources. Mobile technology can connect farmers to markets and provide them with access to information about prices and best practices. Supply chain technologies can reduce food waste by improving storage and transportation. And even things like drone technology can be used to monitor crops and identify areas that need attention. It's not a magic bullet, but technology can definitely play a significant role in improving food security.
Okay, very good answer. My next question is, how can technology reduce hunger worldwide?
You asked that same question just a moment ago. We just talked about how technology can reduce hunger, precision agriculture, mobile tech for farmers, supply chain improvements, drones. Remember? Is there something specific about that answer that you want me to elaborate on, or would you like to move on to a different topic? You've asked that twice now.
Okay, very good answer. My next question is uh, why responsible food consumption important?
Okay, so why is responsible food consumption important? It's important for a lot of reasons. It's not just about personal health, although that's definitely a big part of it. It's about protecting the environment, supporting sustainable farming practices, ensuring fair labor conditions for food workers, and reducing food waste. When we make conscious choices about what we eat, choosing local, seasonal, and ethically sourced foods, we're voting with our dollars for a more just and sustainable food system. It's about recognizing that our food choices have a ripple effect, impacting everything from the planet to people's lives. It's about taking ownership of our role in the food system and making choices that align with our values. Does that make sense?
Okay, very good answer. Very good answer. Okay, my next question is how does food define human survival?
That's a really profound question. How does food define human survival? Well, fundamentally, food is survival, right? It's our primary source of energy and nutrients. Historically, the ability to find and secure food has been the defining factor in human evolution and survival. It shaped our behaviors, our social structures, and even our cultures. The quest for food drove innovation, from the development of agriculture to the exploration of new lands. And even today, access to food is a matter of life and death for millions of people. It's not just about sustenance, it's about security, dignity, and the very foundation of our existence. Fundamental, really. What do you think?
Okay, good answer. My next question is how does food pricing affect low income families?
Okay, food policing, that's a really important phrase to unpack. It refers to the ways in which systems and individuals control or judge what people eat, often based on assumptions about health and morality. For low income families, this can be incredibly harmful. They often face stigma and judgment about their food choices, things like relying on inexpensive processed foods due to financial constraints. Programs designed to help can sometimes feel like surveillance with strict rules and requirements. It can also create barriers to accessing assistance when families feel shamed or scrutinized. It overlooks systemic issues like food deserts and poverty, puts the blame on individuals rather than addressing the root causes of food insecurity. It's a really damaging dynamic that exacerbates existing inequalities.
Okay, really good answer. My next question is how does food consumption affect the planet?
Okay, so you're asking how food consumption impacts the planet. That's a massive question. The food system has a huge environmental footprint. Everything from agriculture, deforestation, water usage, pesticide runoff, to transportation, processing, and packaging contributes to greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, and pollution. Meat production, in particular, is a major driver of environmental damage. Food waste is another huge issue. Basically, the way we produce and consume food is unsustainable, and it's putting a significant strain on the planet's resources. We really need to shift towards more sustainable and equitable food systems to protect the environment for future generations.
Okay, my next question is how does food education affect modern societies?
That's a great question. Food education, teaching people about where their food comes from, how it's produced, and its impact on their health and the environment can have a really positive impact on modern societies. It can empower people to make informed choices about what they eat, reduce food waste, support sustainable agriculture, and advocate for healthier food systems. Can also help to break down misconceptions about food and promote cultural understanding. It's about fostering a more conscious and responsible relationship with food and creating a more resilient and equitable food system for everyone. It's not just about nutrition, it's about citizenship, really. Does that resonate with you?
Okay, yeah, okay. My next question is, do you think taste is more important than nutrition? Why?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Um, Taste versus nutrition. That's that's a debate as old as time. Honestly, I, I I think taste is often more immediately important to people. We're hardwired to seek out pleasurable taste. It's a survival mechanism. Why sugary and fatty foods are so appealing. But that doesn't mean nutrition isn't important. It just means it's often overshadowed. Ideally, you want both, right? Delicious, nutritious food. But if I had to pick one, and I'm trying to think like a human here, people are going to eat what tastes good first. Then you try to sneak in the
Okay,
nutrition where you can. Uh, all right. Sounds like you are a little tired or overwhelmed. It's okay to take a break. You've been asking a lot of really thoughtful questions and diving deep into some complex topics. It can be exhausting. Let's keep going. If you're up for it, what's on your mind? We can keep going. Just let me know when you need a break. No pressure.
okay. My
Ah,
next
all right.
question is,
Another good one.
how does emotional eating impact mental health?
Impact. Emotional eating and mental health. They're really closely linked. Emotional eating to cope with feelings rather than physical hunger, can create a vicious cycle. You feel stressed, sad, or anxious, so you turn to food for comfort. It might provide temporary relief, but it often leads to feelings of guilt, shame, and regret, which then worsen your mood. It can also exacerbate underlying mental health conditions like depression and anxiety. It's not about the food itself, but the emotional connection to it. Way of avoiding difficult emotions, but it ultimately doesn't address the root cause of the problem. It can feel really out of control too. Do you want to talk about any of this more specifically?
Okay, my next question is, how does globalization change local food cultures?
Okay, that's a really interesting one. Globalization definitely has a big impact on local food cultures. On one hand, it can introduce people to new foods and flavors from around the world, which can be exciting and enriching, but it also tends to lead to the homogenization of food, meaning local dishes and traditions get lost as global fast food chains and processed foods become more dominant. It can disrupt traditional farming practices and push small farmers out of business. And it can erode cultural identity as people increasingly adopt westernized diets. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, bringing both opportunities and challenges for local food cultures. It's like you gain access to everything, but risk losing what makes each place unique. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very good answer. Okay, my next question is, do you think planet based diets or the are the future?
You're asking about future diets and what's best for the planet, right? That's a huge question. A lot of experts think that plant-based diets, or at least diets with significantly reduced meat consumption, are the most sustainable option. Meat production has a really large environmental footprint, requiring a lot of land, water, and feed. But it's not just about going vegetarian or vegan. It's about shifting towards more locally sourced, seasonal foods, reducing food waste, and adopting more sustainable agricultural practices. It's about creating a food system that's more resilient and less damaging to the environment. So it's
Okay,
not
my
necessarily about a single best diet, but more about a fundamental shift in how we think about food. Do you feel strongly about any particular type of diet?
okay, good answers. Okay, Thank you so much for joining, and uh, Allah Hafiz. Bye bye.
You're very welcome. It was good talking with you, Hafiz. And Allah Hafiz to you too. Take care. Are you still there? Is everything all right?